Trez's laboured breathing and the beat of the old man's heart. He heard the sirens, Severtar retuned back into the Voxnet, immediately assaulted by 500 voices overlaying each other. He focused on the scrolling runes dancing down his retinal display and activated a direct link to the flagship. "This is Severtar," he said. "First Captain." He didn't recognize the voice, human certainly, but that could be one of several hundred bridge crew. He had difficulty telling their voices apart. In truth, he even had trouble telling their faces apart. "Tell me everything." "It's the Dark Angels, sir. They found us." The tactical hololith flickered as the NightFall's engines flared into full-throated life. After demanding teleportation back to the flagship, it had taken Severtar 14 minutes of sprinting to reach the strategium from the principal deployment bay. He'd been worried the battle would be over by the time he arrived. At several thoroughfares, he'd killed crew members that hadn't fled from his path fast enough. Rarely before had he been so relieved to hear proximity alarms and auspex chimes signifying incoming foes. The fleets still hadn't engaged. Once he'd reached the bridge, he took in the tactical display, ordered a feed of the ship's status data transferred to his left eye lens, and took stock of just what was happening. They were going to lose. That was what was happening. He watched the hololith for another few seconds, discerning the spread of forces in the void and their projected attack vectors. He listened briefly to the shouting voice of Admiral Yule, being ignored by the Legion commanders he technically outranked. "Fleet address," Severtar ordered. "Uplink live, Captain," one of the Vox officers shouted back over the shaking of the hull. "This is Severtar to the fleet. Let me be clear, brothers and sisters, I am not losing to these pious, deluded, rag-wearing horsens twice in the same month. Focus all fire on the invincible reason. They crippled our Primarch. Let's return the favour. I need at least 50 ships willing to remain for the attack." "Severtar," crackled one voice, murdered by Vox distortion. "This is suicide." Severtar's false smile played out across his cold lips. "I take it I can't count on your support for the attack run, Krukesh?" "Not a chance." "I hoped you'd say that, brother. It saves me ordering you to flee. Take your companies and vanish into the black. We'll meet you at Taurus Point for the journey onwards to Terrar." "We'll be waiting, Sev. Luck be with you." Severtar switched back to the general channel. "Varjahan, Naraka, Ophion, Tovak, go with him or scatter as you desire." 2 of the 4 named Chiroptera captains replied in the affirmative. 1 didn't reply at all. Only Ophion refused outright. "I'll stay," he voxed back. "I'll stand with you, Severtar." "I only need 50 ships. The Chiroptera has to get clear." A chorus of "Yes, sir," and "Aye, Captain," filtered back from the command decks of the other ships. Over half of the fleet volunteered to stay. It wasn't exactly the defiant bravery of the Ultramarines or the steadfast discipline of the Imperial Fists, but it was nothing to spit at. Severtar took note of the ship identifier runes flickering gold, electing to remain and cover the retreat. One of them made his skin crawl. "Varjahan," he said. "Brother," the voice crackled back, "I ordered the Chiroptera to run. You can't risk the Primarch in this fight. Get clear of the battle with the dispersing fleet." Severtar had expected an argument from the veteran, perhaps yet another grunted complaint about authority. "Severtar, Lord Cruze is stirring." "Is he awake? Can he stand? Can he fight?" "No." "Then it changes nothing. Send Valzen back to the NightFall before you break away. I trust your apothecaries to watch over Lord Cruze. I need mine back here." "It will be done. Good hunting, Severtar." Severtar glanced back at the hololith, at the spread of so many ships, friend and foe alike. "Admiral Yule!" The 8th Legion fleet broke apart, a slow ballet of self-interest and defiance in equal measure. The NightFall pulled ahead of the Blade in the Black, leading the Armada intercepting the Dark Angel's warships. The rest of the Legion vessels turned tail and fled, some running in formation for the system's coreward jump point, others rolling in the void and boosting away alone, heading in directions known only to their captains. Severtar drew his eyes away from the diaspora, biting back a sudden and strange sense of melancholy. This might be the last time the 8th Legion ever gathered in such numbers. The idea made tactical sense and suited their way of war, but he couldn't help a moment of regret. The NightFall thundered on, shaking with the strain of its engines. "Time to engage?" he asked, seating himself in Lord Cruze's ivory command throne. 6 minutes, 12 seconds, First Captain. 10, 9, launch fighters! A nearby servitor replied, dull-toned and unblinking. "Fighters launching. Have a flagship to defend." The excoriator heeded neither friend nor foe. The 8th Legion ships, demanding it fall into formation, went as ignored as the Dark Angel's cruisers, drowning it in fire. Severtar watched it roll, wounded to the point of being held together by nothing more than spit and spite. He could tell from its trajectory that it wasn't even aiming to ram one of the enemy's ships. It was just dying. A drawn-out, graceless dive through the enemy fleet, breaking the 8th Legion's formation and putting a blade to the throat of the late Admiral Yule's first and final plan as Void Commander. Severtar sighed. Despite the tremors rattling the strategium, he calmly sat down in the Primarch's throne and rested his cheek on his gauntleted knuckles. A shame, really. It had been a good plan. He wiped blood from his face again, this time from his jawline below his ear. How very vexing. The Bridgevox hissed back into life with several false starts. "Severtar!" said a deep, distorted voice, bare of any emotion beyond the faintest oily amusement. "Welcome back, Father." "We can finish this now. Join me." "Let me guess," replied Severtar. "You plan to teleport onto the Invincible Reason, don't you?" "I have a fight to finish." "Yes," said Severtar, reaching for his spear. "Of course you do. Does it not matter that in a handful of minutes we can punch out through the Angel's rearguard and rip into the warp?" The answer was several seconds in coming, preceded by the muted shouts of dying humans aboard a burning ship. "Come with me. Bring the Atramanta. Finish this at my side." Severtar looked out over the bridge, elevated above the crew on a raised dais. The officers and serfs, not frantically engaged at their stations or down on the deck with concussion and blood loss, were looking up at him with the expressions of lost moronic mongrels. "Is that an order, sire?" he asked, already knowing the answer, already reaching for his helm. "You know it is." The link blanked in another wash of static. "This is why the Imperials always win," Severtar mused aloud.